Hello, welcome to LA Comic Con, and Meltdown Comics presents a conversation with our monthly sojourn out here to Meltdown Comics on Comic Book Day to watch everyone picking up their books as we do a little interview. With me, as always, is Adam, who you can't see just yet because nobody's monitoring the camera to pull back, but that's okay. Adam will be here.
Hey guys.
Just a little reminder what this is. This is a deep dive into process. This is all about figuring out and learning the creative process in the geek arts as it relates to the geek arts with comic books and television and whatnot. So your questions are important. Go ahead and queue them up, tweet at us, put them in the chat box below the video, and we're going to talk for a little bit as the questions queue up, and then we're going to switch to your questions. This is really your opportunity to ask some amazing talent and get first-hand feedback on how to do the craft of geekery, whatever that is for you. And so, with that preamble, let me give a warm welcome to our guest today. I think he's probably one of the hottest comic book writers and authors in the industry working today. He's got an incredible comic book called Iceman. Maybe you've heard of it. Kind of goes back a little ways, a few years back. And just absolutely blazing a trail there. And unbelievable independent stuff through Image Comics. Nothing Lasts Forever. He's the artist on A Little Depressed Boy. Please give a warm Meltdown and LA Comic Con welcome to the one and only Sina Grace.
Woo.
Sina!
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Do you hear that?
Crowds. There we go.
That's all for me.
And there's Adam. See, I told you he was here.
I exist.
I wasn't lying. He's even got the Meltdown. Do you have the Meltdown shirt on?
No,
party
it's
foul.
laundry day.
What is your shirt?
It's Captain America's All-American like bodybuilding. It's like a
Joke, because I'm so tiny and, you know, what.
Well, I always say like, oh, my name's Cena, like John Cena, and I do that.
Yeah.
See,
to
that's
kinda-
good. That's clever. I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and then depending on who I'm saying that to, then I go, oh, or like Tina Fey. It just depends on who you're talking to. So that's me.
So Sina, you might be one of the hardest people working in comic books today.
I'm like, you can't see.
Oh, it's going to be one of those nights.
Oh, boy.
We should have promoted this to the DragCon crowd.
I know, right?
But you got a lot going on, which, deadlines. I'm amazed that you could even be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here too.
So you've got the question that's on my mind that's really interesting to me is you've got this major mainstream title with Marvel.
Iceman. Crazy, right?
And you're blazing ground with it, like spotlight on you, right?
In a way, yeah. But there's so many. I'm like just cutting you down. I'm like, but there, yeah, no word. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's a lot of books that are mainstream that are dealing with these issues, but I don't think any character that's this big, this prominent, with this much focus on it. But at the same time, you're writing these and producing, not just writing, you're also illustrating these incredibly personal books that have a level of honesty that I haven't seen in probably 25, 30 years of comic book writing. How do you balance that, and how does one inform the other? Is it a hindrance? Is it a help to be exposing everything in your life over here, but then here having to be mainstream and acceptable to all?
I mean, like, I do think about a lot of these things. So when I say I don't really think about it, I'm lying to you. But to that extent, it's nice to have the safety valve that is, doing memoir at Image Comics, because then I can be me and I can say things that really, really matter to me personally. And, the interesting thing I've learned being at Marvel Comics is Marvel readers don't always jump over and say, hey, what has this person done outside of my favorite superheroes? So I don't really have to worry about that, that bleed over, if that's the right word. But I don't know, I think it's because I started doing the indie stuff first, and it was really important to me to take care of my mental health by way of comic books. That when Marvel approached me and when Marvel was thinking of hiring me for stuff, I just kind of assumed okay, they know what's there, I don't hide it. So, I think we all just get along fine, But I do definitely need that outlet, to to just really like expose myself and keep myself real, so that way I don't end up like lying or compartmentalizing when I do end up on a larger platform like Marvel Comics. And, you know, all it really is just, you know, decorum and having a sense of balance in terms of what you say when there's a camera on you. So that's really the only difference, is I mind myself a bit more. But you have to do that anyway, you know, with the internet and Twitter. Like, anything can kind of get taken out of context or taken the wrong way. So, you know, I've been trying to be more conscientious about that stuff regardless. But when you're speaking about yourself and your experiences, you don't give as much of a crud what anyone else thinks, because it's about you and it's so specific to you. And when you're saying it's real. Like, no one can argue with it except for the people who are involved, and they're like, hey, you misrepresented me, but no one's really said that to me yet. So I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it's a good jump off. One of the things you said that was interesting is that you have to be very, I don't want to use, I forgot the word that you used, but you have to be, not censor yourself, but be very aware of what you're saying. But at the same time, you're laying it out there. Like, I don't know what it is that you're monitoring, because you're just so honest. It doesn't strike me that you're holding anything back.
I guess that, well, you know, I think having a lot of, we all have really off-color remarks in our heads when people say things, and your gut reaction is like, oh, I want to tweet something real nasty to someone. So that's where I mind my words, is I don't try to create any bad blood in my industry. I've been at this since I was 15, so I really am aware that, you know, everyone in this industry kind of stays around. So you should sort of be very respectful of your peers and colleagues, because you never know where they're going to be in 10 years, and you never know where you're going to be in 10 years. And it just makes sense to be, you know, polite and not talk too much SH on the internet.
How does that?
Whoa,
Adam has one. All right, I was just trying to stay on topic because I know he's going to change it into.
I mean, yeah, I was just going to talk
into the stuff
about,
that I'm not knowledgeable about, and he is.
Go
ahead.
So you mentioned how you've been in this game since you were 15. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were actually doing editing work over at Image, right?
Yes and no. I am going to correct you.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So in high school, I was an editorial intern at Top Cow, and then I started making zines and self-publishing. And
zines, boy, did you just date yourself?
Heck yeah, I did. There's also a podcast that the Meltdown produces called "It's Pronounced Zine."
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the fact that it's called that shows we're all dating ourselves here.
Yes, we are.
Except for you, baby.
Hey, zines are a very big part of Meltdown's industry. We love zines here. Like, we have our own zine that comes out once a month called Mouthology.
Good plug.
Yeah.
How do they get it?
Here, in the store.
Got to come to the store to get it.
Unfortunately.
No, fortunately. This place is rad. There's tons of crap to look at.
Yes.
Good crap.
Good crap. The best crap.
But yeah, no, I was doing zines, and then I went to college, and I apprenticed under a comic artist named Howard Chaykin. He's a writer, too. That's unfair to him to just put him in a binary or whatever.
Yeah, he's really all over the place.
But then you may be alluding to this, I did also handle editorial director duties at Robert Kirkman's Skybound imprint at Image Comics. So that's editor, Image Comics. That's how those two words exist within.
And what's that title that Skybound was doing at the time?
It's
what was it?
Super Dinosaur.
That's it.
Right,
That's what I was just thinking.
And The Astounding Wolfman.
And Invincible.
And Invincible.
Yes.
And Thief of Thieves.
Yes.
And Witch Doctor.
And Chew.
No, we did not do Chew.
Oh, that's right.
Image Central.
There we go.
What about
I ran out of Skybound titles.
And the Walking Dead, that was the one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's it.
I'm not.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
It's, you know...
What is this?
It's really for kids.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I don't read that
It's
stuff.
this all-ages book. It doesn't sell very well, but
No.
I think they got nominated for, like, an Eisner once.
I hear they're doing a TV show.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see if it goes anyway.
But yeah, no, so I did do that, and it's great because, you know, to have done everything in this industry, it allows me to kind of understand just how much I want to be a part of it. And then also, it helps me see how hard everyone works, and it makes me respectful of every process, which there are plenty of.
What is that writing process for you? When, you know, how do you break, when you sat down to do Nothing Lasts Forever, like how did you break that?
With memoir, it's really super unfair to. I don't know. It's not. It might not be. It might not be chill to like talk about process with that because it was.
Okay.
Well, no. I mean, there's nothing like. I just don't think there's anything interesting for.
Yeah, if it was just you writing down notes and then like drawing it out.
No, I didn't expect that book to be that book, and the book even talks about it, where I was just sort of struggling to figure out what my next idea would be, and I was getting progressively more and more sick with this illness called achalasia. And I was just doing these personal strips in my sketchbook, all in pencil, and I would format a few of them, and some of them would go out into other publications. Like, I have a 2-page strip in there that's in the Love is Love book, and that was a great way to test out if people were going to be okay seeing a more raw style and a more unrefined style. And yeah, I really didn't want to put it out, but so many people I liked and respected were like, no, this is really good, this is really strong, and you don't have to make everything super polished and super clean. And so once I understood that that was okay, I just kept composing pages and writing and drawing pages, and it was the same process I had with Not My Bag, and it was the same process with Self-Obsessed, where you just kind of, you draw all the things that matter to you, and you write all the stories that you think speak to this specific project, and then, you know, when Image is like, here's your deadline, that's when you sort of spend a few all-nighters. Hey, there's Aristotle. Aristotle, come here. Get in. Get in.
Oh, we have.
It was Aristotle's birthday last week.
Happy birthday, Aristotle.
Look at the camera. Look at the camera.
Look at that.
Aristotle
Happy
is
birthday.
another Melt.
The monitor's over there. That's why I keep looking over there.
Yeah.
Bye, Aristotle. But yeah, and then basically, you know, it's unfortunate because of how these books work for my brain. I never get enough like lead time to then send it to like reviewers and stuff, because everything's sort of coalescing and coming together in the last 2 to 3 weeks, which is not a good way to make anything. But as a writer who I really like and respect, Glenn David Gould once told me, if that's the process that works for you, don't question the process. So yeah, with memoir, I make a really, really, really big mess, and then I put the mess all out in front of me, and I like start making it come together, and then once I have sort of a skeleton, I look at it and go, okay, where are things not working, or where are the themes that I want to be talking about not clear or present? And then that's when I go in and add a few more pages here or there. With Nothing Lasts Forever, it was funny because like for the longest time I was like, this book can't have a happy ending, because it's about sickness and it's about, you know, you're gonna learn about this in a few years, but it's kind of about like how scary and sad life looks when you finish your 20s and you're in your 30s, and you're like, oh, that's what's waiting for me at the end of the tunnel, and you can have a very bleak outlook on it. But when I did get to the end, I still had to kind of give some sort of ending or some sort of something to the reader, and that was where, you know, those midnight hours started to come into play, was like making that ending work for the rest of the book.
So now when you lay all that stuff out in front of you and you're kind of looking at it, is there an element of fear in confronting this? Is it, you've already dealt with that and it's energizing? Like, what does that feel like looking at your life in front of you and saying, okay, I'm putting this all out there? And how much of it is do you dumb down so that it's not 100% authentic? Because I get the sense of it that it's all authentic.
Yeah. I shouldn't like be saying this, but like I just don't think when I get that close to the finish line, and mind you all, like I have studied writing, I studied literature, I worked with one of the most prolific and successful writers in the industry. I've also worked with another, you know, like with Howard and all this stuff, and so I kind of just rely on all of my training and all of the thoughts I have and all of the years of preparation and build-up getting me to where I'm looking at it, but then at that point I don't really stare too hard, because then I'll just be filled with doubt, and then I'll just shut the whole thing down. And with Nothing Lasts Forever, they're definitely, like, I think it was the week it was going to the printer, I was like, how mad would Image be if I just said no. Like if I was just like, never mind, like cancel it, like whatever, I'll deal with the bad press. But yeah, I just sort of trust everything that's gotten me to the point, you know, to that point in time. And I like close my eyes and jump, you know. And it was the same way with the Self-Obsessed web series, where like I would get really stoned, pardon my French.
Well, it's California. That you're allowed to do that
it's legal here.
Perfectly legal. There's nothing wrong with it.
But like there'd be nights where I'd get stoned and I'd be like, what am I doing? What am I thinking? Like this is like such a bad idea. And then I don't know, like I just want to be true to me, and at the risk of everything else, at least I can be like, well, that was true to me, and that's all that matters. I don't know. Again, like I've been through some stuff, so I you know, I just kind of think, what's the worst possible outcome outside of embarrassing myself? And if embarrassing myself is my only fear, then like YOLO. You know, I shouldn't say that. That's such a terrible phrase for like some really deep
Professional
thoughts.
advice?
But
YOLO.
But I think that's actually really great advice to a writer, to be fearless and to just trust yourself. Use the word trust.
Well, be educated too. You know, like I read a lot of everything, like books, plays, graphic novels, like poetry. I try to absorb a lot of media and information, and similarly, I try to study. One of my main beliefs is like, you're never not a student. You know, you're always a student, to avoid the double negative. So yeah, that's why I always think like, okay, like I'm trying my best, and I know my best is good. You know what I mean? Like I know my best is a lot, and I know where other people are coming from when they do things, and so I can compare myself to that too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you want to cue one up here for Sina?
Yeah, let's see. Are we going to, we jump into that?
We can, sure.
Yeah,
there's like
why
a
not?
whole
I saw one question up a little bit.
Wow,
yes.
there's so many questions.
That's my wheelhouse. How will Bobby Drake evolve within the X-Men universe moving forward? And I want to sort of add on to that, because as some of you might not know, there are two Bobby Drakes around in the X-Men universe right now. There is the modern, older version, and then there is the version plucked from 1963, who's like 13 or 14 or something like that.
God, I hope he's older based on one of those panels.
Yeah, he's probably like 15, 16.
Yeah, he was like 14 when he started in the X-Men. I think they got pulled like a year in or something like that. So yes, how is he going to evolve, and how is his relationship with himself, if you will, going to evolve, considering that one sort of outed the other, in a way?
Yeah, I look at their relationship as brothers.
Okay.
In a weird way.
No, I think that makes sense.
And also similarly, like I was talking about this with my editor, that like I even see Bobby Drake in his time displaced self as sort of like Buffy and Dawn, only in that the older of the two feels a lot of responsibility to make sure the other one comes up okay. Because I think with siblings, like just regular, you know, biological siblings without mystical forces involved, you just assume your parents are doing the heavy lifting in terms of making sure they turn out okay. So with Bobby Drake, you know, he really, and also he's, you know, that pairing, that, you know, Cyclops is dead, Jean Grey is dead, so Bobby and Bobby, they, you know, it's one of the only instances in this scenario that they can actually speak to each other and take care of each other, and you know, the older one's not so far gone. That doesn't answer the first question, so let me go back to that one, because I just got real complicated real fast. But we're gonna see basically Bobby Drake, Iceman, have much more agency as a leader and as a hero. We're gonna see him really explore and examine his powers. I think to date, he does things and doesn't really know where they come from. You know, it's kind of like...
especially lately, I feel like they've been sort of like power boost and then nothing gets done with it.
Yeah, so I'm kind of going to play with that, or at least lean into it, look into it, massage it a little bit.
Fair.
So those are sort of my major goals with him, is pushing him as a hero, and also I want him to have a better relationship with his family. And I think when all of that stuff happens, and when he kind of becomes more present and more of an active agent in his own story, it will open up a lot of crazy adventures for him.
Can you talk a little bit about that development from a process standpoint? Like, how much of it is you thinking about it, researching, plotting, and how much of it is, you have to work with other writers who are using the same character at the same time in other books, and you have this oversight because it's valuable IP, and there's, people up above that want to make sure that value is only added, never taken away.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is when the Resurrection relaunch happened, no one, I don't know how to answer this, but I just don't think anyone picked him for their teams, like in X-Men Blue and Gold. Well, obviously Blue because it's the original 5 X-Men. So yeah, I guess because Mark Guggenheim didn't really pick him for Gold, I just got him all to myself. And that's great. And basically, I made the decision that he is intentionally not on any teams. He's focusing on himself and being a teacher. Marvel, I had a really enlightening and awesome conversation with Axel Alonso there, and he was just basically like, yo, we want to see what you can do. Give us your best and give us what you'd want this character to do. And when you were talking about research, I basically I read, and reread old issues and different arcs and different writers' takes on Bobby Drake, and it was all sort of the same, that no one really knew what to do with him. So I have a lot of freedom in that sense, there are very few bullet points to remember from the past when it comes to fleshing out his future. But I do think about that. I read, I had to read a lot of the Marjorie Liu Astonishing X-Men stories because she did some really interesting stuff with Bobby and his ex-girlfriends, and I was reading, the Champions books, which he and Angel were in, and what I need to do next is read some of those old X Factor books. I'm gonna get in trouble.
I'm doing that right now.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I need to find one of those nice essential editions. But yeah, it's that's I do think a lot about the past because what's important to me is that all of this rings true to the character, and then when you were talking about the IP and the corporate aspect of it, again, it's great, I think, because they want Marvel stories, and Marvel stories, especially with the X-Men, are rooted in action and soap opera. And so as long as I bring some really interesting drama that isn't stupid, I'm okay.
Let's go to a couple more questions.
Yes.
James Lewis says hi. Is that...
Hey, baby.
Do you know James Lewis?
Yeah, internet.
Okay.
Well, we met IRL, but we're internet homies.
There you go,
too.
James. We did you right.
Boom.
Okay.
He's we're friends, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what I mean, James.
There's a great question that I often wondered about. How does your family react to your more personal work? Because you've had a couple books out there that are very, very, very personal.
My mom stopped reading them. And I make the Sex and the City rule of you don't really talk about family. I don't remember the logic that the people working on Sex and the City had when they were just they said something along the lines of when you introduce family, the audience remembers family, and then you have to keep bringing them up and keep remembering them and keep minding them. And I guess they regretted giving Charlotte a brother in that episode where Samantha sleeps with him. So I think, my mom shows up in Nothing Lasts Forever, but, I really try to keep those people out of it. Just because everything I'm thinking about and working on in the books is so much more about the result of the upbringing, not the upbringing itself. I have daddy issues because my dad wasn't around, but you don't need to write about that because it's just nothing. So, but yeah, my sister still reads it, and I think she just would like to read the stuff before it comes out, so she could be like, that wasn't fair, or that wasn't how it actually went down. And then I'm like, it's a comic book, chill out.
It's the fictional version of you.
Well, and that's what's funny is my mom came to the Meltdown where we had the premiere for Self-Obsessed Season 2, and there's some pretty graphic love-making stuff in that season. and also I depict myself as a pretty like rancid skank. So I was just like, I was like, Mom, it's all fake. It's all fake. When it's more like, Mom, like this is really just a bunch of things I did over the span of a few years in 20 minutes. So I'm like a mild skank, you know.
But you didn't shoot any skank scenes at Stanley's Los Angeles Comic-Con?
No.
27th to 29th at the LA Convention Center.
No, we did not shoot skank scenes there. We we just shot up. Man, we shot great scenes. I was just going to start talking to you about how crazy ugly that lighting is in a convention.
Oh my God, it's
I
the
didn't even
worst.
notice it because your eye gets so... This is so boring for you. But this is also interesting for people who want to work in Hollywood. Like, the guy doing our color correction was like, your eye gets so instantly used to, like, how ugly, like, what is it, halogen lighting? Whatever that is.
Yeah.
How, like, gross and sticky and green it makes everything look. But it's crazy because, like, he did a, like, flip, like, here it is with color correction, here it is without, and here it is with color correction. It was... And you're like, whoa, and then your eye gets used to it so fast. This is so boring for everyone else except for me.
But no, but this is
it's still process.
If you've never worked in film or television, color correction is an important part of it. Otherwise, it just looks crappy.
Yeah.
But since we brought up Self-Obsessed, that's another completely different medium that you're writing in.
Oh yeah.
How does your writing, where you're living in comic writing and memoir, and translate into a faux memoir in like roughly 2 to 4 minute increments?
What's interesting when you're working for screen is like you have to keep an eye on movement and action in a lot of ways. Because if you write just talking head scenes in comic books, it's fine because then you can use the page layout to your benefit and be like, okay, they're all going to be talking. Well, we might as well go the Bendis way and make this page like look really cool with like how we, you know, do all the talking head panels and all the different layouts and stuff. But when you're working for film, you're going, okay, we only have like 6 hours to do this, especially when you're at LA Comic-Con and you have like literally 7 hours and like the lights
sorry.
are... No, it was our own doing. No, it was my doing because like I only had like 1 business day to like shoot that scene. But you go, okay, I have this many hours to shoot this many pages, and to set up a shot, you have to change the lighting and change the sound, and you have to like monitor all these things for continuity. So you lose time between every setup, which is angles. Whereas in comic books, you just say, change the angle, change the angle. So you can, in comic books, have like a million different setups, and it doesn't cost you time and money the way it does for film and TV. So, and you also have to learn to collaborate with people in a really big way, like to collaborate with a director and to collaborate with all these people who know what they're doing. There's better questions coming up, so I'm going to shut my mouth.
I saw one that kind of was a good springboard from the, how do your family react? The people that, you encounter and you deal with on a daily day basis, your friends and whatnot, do they ever get concerned that they might show up in some of your more personal work? Like, has that ever been an issue, or?
This is like the Kathy Griffin question.
I'm right, wait.
Because people...
I was like, I'm not depicted holding any...
No. I just mean people are afraid to be friends with Kathy Griffin because they're afraid that she's going to walk on stage and talk about them. Which isn't fair to her at all, by the way.
I think because it's so specific, like, I don't... Like, friends are usually used in the books as people to give me advice, because that's usually how it works, like, or they're part of my life in a professional capacity. And so I think that's very complimentary. Like, I don't see, like, I had to ask permission to include people like Becky Cloonan and Jason Latour, Riley Rosmo, Brandon Graham, so on and so forth, in these like cute little cameos in Nothing Lasts Forever. But because it's all complimentary and it's all like, hey, this is about a moment where you enlightened me or where what you did helped me understand myself, there's no beef there. And to that sense, people are like, well, why am I not in it? You know what I mean? Like, I remember I sent a PDF of the book to someone who shall remain nameless, and that person was just sort of like, they were chiding me, but they were a little bit like, oh, thanks for not like including me as one of the cool like creators like you talk to and get advice from. And I was like, no, it's the complete opposite. It's because I respect you and our conversations are private and personal and I don't want the public to know about them.
Robert Kirkman doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would say that to you.
Well, what's funny is I've actually gotten Robert to approve sequences that I wanted to put in the book, and then never got around to it.
Oh, wow.
Which is funny, but it's so people I would I think and then with people I've dated, like I think they don't think they're gonna get in the books, and then whether they do or don't,
Or parts of them.
Wink. But yeah, and so actually the real thing I have to deal with is friends being like, why am I not in the book? Or
Interesting.
Yeah.
yeah, or some of them being like, why won't you draw me like your French girls? And it goes for both sexes and everything in between. Like everyone's kind of like, draw me. Not everyone, but like some people. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just like follow my heart. I follow what I want to do.
Well, there's a question that somebody, I'm going to modify it. The question was, do you have mutant powers? This is
Yes.
reality.
Yeah, no, that's a known fact, I feel like.
Yes,
Well,
I have the power to get every fucking skin disease known to man.
The worst mutant ability.
I have like my skin's immune system
You're
or whatever.
psoriasis man.
I don't have psoriasis, but I literally like I've had growth. Let's not talk about the downstairs ones, but like, no, in college, my friend Ashley was like, I'm really glad I have you as a friend because whenever something weird happens to me, I know you've already had it. Like shingles. I got shingles when I was like 20.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like an older thing.
Yeah. I think it comes from stress. Who knew? Who knew I get stressed?
So now, does any
Oh, but my mutant power, I don't have any. Sorry, what was the real question?
If you were to have a mutant power, that's not
It's not
susceptibility.
getting sick. It's susceptibility. My power is to get hella sick.
What would it be?
I just say telekinesis because it's like then you can kind of fly.
Yeah.
Then you can get the remote to come to your hand.
It's like the Force.
Yeah.
It's like it's pretty cool.
But people don't use the Force to like fly so much, and that's kind of like Jean Grey like uses TK to like always just like get places really cutely. So I want TK more than telepathy. Telepathy seems like a can of worms.
Do you ever spend any time? I know we talked about this about exploring Iceman's powers, but do you have the freedom and do you spend any time trying to think of, well, is there something I can add that nobody's ever seen before?
Yes and no. I'll start with the no. I don't think my brain can do mutant power stuff the way other people can. You know, like did you guys read X-Men Gold #1? When Kitty Pryde phases an entire skyscraper, I was like, I would have never thought of that. That's cool.
Yeah, that was a pretty badass moment.
And I was like, okay, like cool, but like, damn, I wouldn't have thought of that. So, and it's mainly because my imagination doesn't think that way. But then I wrote Iceman #5, and I was like, never mind.
Which we have not seen yet, so.
Ooh.
Not seen yet. But this whole time people
little
were like, are you going
teaser.
to do any cool things with his powers? And I've just been like PR lying, like, yes, but officially, yes.
You heard it here first.
And I actually, and that's the other thing too, is I meditating on where his power comes from, I think is where my strengths lie. Like, I think about this stuff and I think about where it comes from and how he gets to do it, and hopefully, with any luck, readers will like my take on it.
Well, let's dive a little more into that meditation. Like how, without revealing anything of what's going to happen, how did you get to that point where you're like, oh, because you just said, I would never think of that stuff, but apparently you did.
Yeah.
How did you get there? Like, what was the process that you used to get there?
So this is some really good advice I got from one of the editors on the book, Daniel Ketchum, and all of the like X-Men writers would joke about it. It's a very easy piece of advice, but he just told me to analyze Grey's Anatomy, because an episode of Grey's Anatomy has a very, very clear and easy structure.
I thought you meant the medical book.
So he was like, read this medical book because you have time. But no, he told me to watch Grey's Anatomy, and basically he said, like, watch it with an eye for looking at how the patient that comes in is a metaphor for what the doctors are dealing with in terms of their internal conflict, and how one speaks to the other in order for there to be a resolution. And I'm trying to think of, like, I have a bad example. I'll just give the quick example because this is going to be boring if I'm like hemming and hawing. But one of the immediate examples he gave me was there was this episode where this patient comes in, they're a medical anomaly, all the doctors are crowding, trying to get credit. They want to be the one to like get the credit for this patient's malady and blah, 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 blah. And like they're just crowding this person. And meanwhile, Meredith Grey, the main character, the hospital just found out she has been hooking up with her boss, McDreamy. So this is an earlier season. But anyway, so everyone's all up on her grill, and everyone's all up on like, oh my God, like I knew this, I did that, blah, 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 blah. And at some point in the episode, she takes what she's feeling and is able to apply it to protect this patient. And she like tells everyone to leave, give this patient some space. There's too many eyes on, I think it's a her, I can't remember. There's too many eyes on her. And because of what Meredith was going through in her personal life, it made her a better doctor in her professional life because she could, you know, have empathy for what this character is going through. Really not a good example. But my point is, if you give yourself that constraint of like, what's the metaphor of the issue, then you say, how does the action speak to the metaphor? So in Iceman #2, issue 2 that came out
Last week.
Yeah,
Last week.
7 days ago. It's been a crazy 7 days.
Unfortunately, it's sold out here.
Sold out at Golden Apple. That's good for me, because that means people like it.
Yeah.
But we're at Meltdown that Golden
Yeah.
I am so tired.
Boo hiss.
Wow.
Meltdown.
Boo hiss.
That was a heck
Not
of a
Golden.
carnitas you had before us.
I did have a Corona. One Corona, that's what it does to me. But, okay, so in Iceman #2, sold out at Meltdown Comics, probably sold out at Golden
Yep.
Apple Comics too.
We love the Golden Apple people. They're good peeps.
The whole crux of the issue was about how these two characters need to talk to each other, but they're just not gonna. And so how does this guy's powers speak to that? And I basically, you know, utilize this kid who he can like amplify wavelengths, and it starts out being like electronics and all that stuff's going boom. But then it turns out he can also amplify powers, and so suddenly they can't use their powers. And it was great because for a guy who builds walls and for a lady who thinks everything can go through her, they're both stripped of that, and then they're just left being humans. And in the back of my head, I just loved thinking, like it's all about matter, like things mattering, especially with a lady who can phase, you know. And suddenly, it was just, yeah, to me, I don't know if it read for any of the readers, but that's what made this sort of hug when they come together at the end so much more powerful, because they're stripped of everything else due to the metaphor. So I actually, in that instance, took away all of the power. But in issue 4, where Iceman hangs out with Doc Hen, whether they fight or not is up to you to find out in 2 months. That sentence didn't go where I wanted it to go. But anyway, there's stuff there where similarly it's like, okay, here's this conflict, here's this character, here's what he represents, here's what Bobby represents in terms of his journey, and I use the powers to speak to where they are. And that's why issue 5, I really kind of upped my ante, because he's fighting Juggernaut. And
Are you allowed to say that?
yeah,
Okay,
the
okay.
cover's revealed and everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's been solicited. It's okay.
Yeah, and I've been saying that Marvel was like, tell people they want to see Juggernaut.
Yes, we really do.
Does he say, I'm the Juggernaut?
No, sadly. I was thinking about that, but I was just like,
You gotta save that for the right moment, you know?
But I think also every writer does that. You know what I mean? The same way I feel like for a time every writer was trying to sneak in like the Holy Hannah reference, you know? Like Beast would always have to say that or something. Or no, he would say My Stars and Garters,
Yeah,
right?
Holy Hannah was...
Maybe Spider-Man. This is, who
Yeah,
cares?
no, who
one
cares?
cares.
No one
They'll
cares.
correct us later.
Exactly,
It doesn't
yeah.
matter. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, because if you read enough of these in a row, you're like, oh my gosh, like they say more than 2 phrases. But yeah, so that's where I go, and I close my eyes and I try to, this is after I've outlined it and done my due diligence. Then I close my eyes and I try to like live the issue as all the characters from their perspectives, in order to see if I've like missed anything. And usually when I'm at that point in the process, that's when a cool action-y thing comes to me. It just sucks because like at that point I'll have usually submitted a draft of it, and then the next morning I'll be like, never mind, came up with something else. And that does not make editors happy. So, but that's the long answer to a very short question.
It's a good answer. I think there's a lot of
you.
information there. Is a good example of how to structure a metaphor to
Yeah.
show the action.
I think the more confines you give yourself, the better you are able to see what you are trying to do, and then that actually opens up what you are supposed to do, if that makes any sense.
Well, it does. I'm going to give you a great metaphor that I think everyone's going to understand. You go
Marriage,
down, you sit down on your couch, you turn on the TV, you have the remote with no idea what you want to watch. You just flip through the channels and never watch anything. But if you sat down and I told you, okay, but you can only choose something on these 3 channels,
Right.
you would choose something and watch it. And it's that constraint that gives you the freedom to actually do what you set out to do, as opposed to the overwhelming, every option is open to me, I don't know what to do.
That's how I am. We'll go back to questions, but I do always think like, okay, you're going to lose your mind if you think of all the apps you have available. So just like tonight, Netflix or Hulu or like HBO or Stars or what, like, yeah, you got to kind of rein yourself in order to then explore the possibilities within the constraints.
That's a really interesting way to come at discipline, is what that is in a way.
Well, because, you know, and this is the thing too, is because I would go the other way and I would just be super like, throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, and then you can't stand by any of it. Like, the editor would be like, why that? And you'd go, because it looks cool. And hey, that's like not a good reason to do things. So yeah, that's why I put boundaries around myself as a writer to try and make the writing better. Who knew?
Cool.
Yeah.
Adam?
All right, let's see what we got up on the question board.
I like that next to the last one that we, or that last one right there.
The top
So
one
many
or
questions.
The
Thank
top
you all
one
so
or the,
much.
that one's good. That one right there. With the, yeah, that one.
the top?
Middle.
The middle.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, our questions keep kind of moving up and down. Is a serious artistic talent such as yours a gift that can be learned, or is it due diligence? Is it a mix of both?
Is it genetics?
Is it genetics? You know,
Is that your mutant ability?
that I can draw? I think so. I don't know. Well, it's definitely learned, but I think people all have different talents, for lack of a better term, that sets them apart. You know, like I can't draw cars very well. I can't draw guns or machines very well. Other people, like this guy C.P. Smith, is like, man, I love drawing the shit out of fucking guns and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's cool, man, that's you. I can't. I like to draw, like, you know, cute hipster girls with long flowy hair and whatnot. But it takes the ability to see that you have something, and then the rest is discipline, and the rest is just practice, practice, practice. And the only reason I say that is, like, lately, to kind of like keep myself zen, is like I've been messing around with like guitar and stuff. And no, I don't have a natural talent at the guitar, but like I'm getting better. And that's the thing, is like practice really does make perfect. And that's why a bunch of people buy those stupid books about saying like you don't need to buy a book to tell you to do 10,000 hours. Like that should just be clear. Like you just need to work really, really hard at anything you like, and then you get better at it. So thank you, whoever said that I had talent, but it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of believing in yourself.
So let's tap
And
into
believing you can be better than you presently are. I think that's also,
what goes back to the eternal student thing.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Let's talk about because we haven't really talked about the fact that you are an illustrator too, and you wrote and illustrated Nothing Lasts Forever, but you
Out now, Image Comics.
Available at Meltdown Comics and Collectibles.
and you illustrate
Signed.
Little Depressed Boy,
Yes.
and you write Iceman.
Yes.
So how those are three actual different processes in a lot of ways.
feel like I
One,
should be
you-
like-
What are you doing?
I just feel like I should be showing this off. Like,
there you go.
Oh yeah,
See?
switch to a different page. That's like a rejected. Like that
Why
was
don't
me
you
look-
pick one?
Oh, I'll pick one.
Yeah,
While we're
I'll-
talking.
So in this
I'm
one,
so
you have complete
nude in a
control
lot
of
of these
everything.
pages. What?
You have complete control. And if you're nude in there, that's your fault. You have complete control on this. You are working collaboratively on the others, but in completely different capacities. Have you found that that's given you a strength, or has it become a hindrance because in one or the other, that's not how I would do it as a writer or as an artist? You know, how are you balancing that?
Well, I think so far it's allowed me to be. Again, I think to me it's allowed me to be really diplomatic in talking to people. For example, with Iceman, I lay out the entire issue, for every issue myself before I script it, because I want to make sure that what I'm telling the artist to do is possible.
And do
know
you
what I
share
mean?
that with Kevin?
Who's Kevin?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
Kevin Watt
did.
is the cover artist.
Oh, okay, he's the cover. Okay.
No, I don't, because again, going back to like, well, I respect them. So all I want to know is that what I'm asking is feasible and not BS. And the reason I don't show them is like these guys, Alessandro Vitti and Edgar Salazar, who have both been handling the duties on this book. They're amazing, and they think of things I would never think of, and they do a lot of great choreography that I never could have imagined. So, and that's the other thing I do too, is like I throw out what I think would be a good fight scene, and then I go, if you can think of something better, I encourage it. So it's not been a hindrance. I think, you know, I'm super lucky right now. So far, it has not been a problem. I've never butted heads with anyone. You know, it has been interesting, you know, it has been interesting working at Marvel. And like, I remember I said something to my editor at the time, and he was like, I forgot you were an editor. Like, you know all my tactics, you know all my tricks. And I was like, yeah, dude, because I've been you.
Well, and there's that too. You have all that experience editing unbelievably popular
this
books.
sequence is okay. I'm like, oh wait, wrong page. I'm like bashing my head out of like frustration in this one because I can't like, my friend Amber, she's on both pages actually. She's like giving me advice on like a bad book idea I have. And I'm like, really, you didn't see that twist coming? And she's like, I read a lot, which is a thing she said to me when I was like, I told her the big series twist, and I was like, and she was like, I was like, you saw that coming? Yeah, she was like, yeah, and she's just literally like, I read a lot, man. Like, and then it's a cute page of all the times Amber was right. So it's a cute book. You laugh sometimes, you cry sometimes. It's $15. It's here at Meltdown. It's out from Image. Buy it. Anyway.
And it was just named to the list of one of the best comic books of the year so far.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vulture.
So yes, on Vulture. So go read the article because there's some other good books listed in there, and get the book.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Me.
Yeah, you. We're talking a guy named with a pin that says self-obsessed, and he has a show called Self-Obsessed. What else would we talk about other than you?
Kids.
Your personal work. Somebody wants to know preference: indie work or majors? And you've worked on the biggest major indie too, so.
Oh yeah.
That kind of factors in there.
I don't want to. I will answer, but I'm not going to pick an either or. I like both for different reasons. Mm-hmm. You know, like I like working in this big sandbox, and I like working on things that like I didn't necessarily come up with on my own. And I guess the thing that is against that is like at some point, you know, I might not be writing this character and then someone else will be, and that breaks my heart a little bit, but it's also like, it's all fair game. You knew that. Like, you read these books, you know where it goes. I don't know. I like both. Let's just say indie just for the reason that I like being in control.
Well, so then as an artist on Little Depressed Boy,
yeah.
How do you deal with the fact that you're not in control in a lot of ways? And have you had that reverse thing where you've done something where the writer's been like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that?
Yeah. Well, on Little Depressed Boy, working with Sean Struble is super, you know, we've been working together for like, I think a decade now. And what I say about that is he lets me, like, the stuff that matters to me, he lets me have free reign on. And then the stuff that matters to him, I know and I respect. And if ever we need to talk about something else, we're both very mindful of each other and how much time it takes for the other to do what they do. And so yeah, we're really mindful of each other and respectful. And a book like that is just pure fun because it already inherently speaks to things I like to draw, which is like, you know, cool bands, you know, quirky, cool, like, love interests, and then like very sparse, barren backdrops because it's in Texas. But yeah, so, and again, like I said, it's like I'm just in a very lucky situation with him. With Burn the Orphanage, a book that I was writing with a friend and drawing, that was a little more tough because I would pull the like, I'm doing more of the work on this, so it should be my way. And what we'd have to do in those situations is basically like take a beat, walk away, really think, and then just say like, what is the better decision for the story? But it's so hard to get past that, especially for a guy who has a self-obsessed pin on his thing. It's really hard to drop ego, if you can imagine.
You're the most modest, egotistical person I know.
I try really hard. I've had a lot of licks, so I know when to shut my mouth.
Adam, you want to cue up this last one here from the audience?
Yeah. So, from your perspective, working with Marvel, do you think audiences are keeping up with sort of these character revisions that have been happening lately? I mean, we have now an African-American Captain America, we have an African-American Spider-Man, we have a female Thor, we have a female teen Iron Man now. Bobby has, recently been outed as being gay, which is a huge
I like the
change.
trepidation in your voice.
Like, can I
He's
say
like,
that? Indian Miss Marvel?
Pakistani.
Pakistani, thank you.
The way I think about it is Marvel's trying a lot of different things, and some of it's landing, some of it isn't. It's all being handled with like care and dedication, and it's just whether the audiences like it. You look at Miles Morales, holy moly, like,
oh my God,
everyone loves him. He's a fan favorite. He's amazing. You look at Spider-Gwen, same thing, where it was like, this is an anomaly, like, and you can see Marvel reacting positively and giving readers more of those characters and canonizing them. And I don't know much about like the success of Riri Williams. I think that's the one that people are not sure about. Same with like female Thor, Black Captain America. I don't. I shouldn't say this like on camera, but I don't really read a lot of the like Avengery type books. Mm-hmm. I read like the X books, Spider-Man books, and so I couldn't tell you if those books are doing really well. I also read Hawkeye, Daredevil. Anyway, just don't hate me. I read a lot of the Defenders-y type character books too, so I couldn't tell you. But I do think it's fair to say that like if the readership responds to it, which they have, then there's more of it, and Marvel creates a space for that. And I do think they care, whether or not they like it, they care, and that's huge. Yeah. But yeah, it goes both ways. Like some of it they like, some of it they don't, and some of it's successful and some of it isn't. But yeah, I don't know. It's all done really well too. Like Jason Aaron did female Thor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard
Still writing it.
I heard it was sick.
It has been really good. He also just introduced a new Thor, the War Thor, who is not the Odinson, so that's kind of cool too. It seems like they're just really opening up the legacy of characters to be passed on, which is interesting because they have these expansive 75-year histories that just we have enough stories for some of these guys.
Yeah, and similarly too, I think you look at. I could be super wrong, but I think people like X-Men Blue, and I think people like the original 5 X-Men. I think it's it also makes things very interesting for these characters who are looking at a future that is set up for them, and they are saying, no, I don't want to be that person, which so many people feel when it comes to like their parents setting a path for them and then being like, no, like I don't have to have that path. And so I think it creates fresh perspectives and stuff.
So, yes, they're keeping up. That's the answer. All right, well, we're going to wrap.
Would you play you? And I'm going to read some of these. Can I do a lightning round answer? A bunch
Yeah,
of these?
sure.
Yeah.
Who would play in a movie based on your life?
Who would play me? Jesse Bradford.
No, you would, because you're already playing yourself.
Oh, I would. Oh, who would I play in a movie?
No, who would play you? But you're already playing you.
Jesse Bradford, let's say.
Jesse Bradford. All right, Jesse Bradford it is.
Let's see.
Can Bobby Drake evolve into an A character for feature films?
Hell yes.
Let's keep going. Keep scrolling, Steve. Working it.
Done that. Go up. There's a bunch in the top.
Up at the top. Up at the top.
Okay, wait. I got one based on that last one because I think we hit most of these.
James Lewis.
Who would play your Bobby Drake?
Who would play my Bobby Drake?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
Oh, I answered this question to a friend and I forgot what I said. Let me come back to that. I'll answer it. Wait, there was another one I saw too. What is my family's reaction? We said that.
Keep going. Keep going.
James Lewis. Are people you meet afraid? What was that?
That
one?
they're going to end up in your stories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I did that one too. They're not afraid. They want to be in them.
Yeah, I think we got them all.
Let's just, I don't know. Who would play Bobby Drake? Oh, I was going to say some really funny actor names that are not. This is not the truth. I'm just going to end on a weird note. David Duchovny. And
Wow.
he would not. He would do a terrible
I would say
job.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy? He's too, like, beefy and
But now you're-
serious.
I've got a
Interesting.
weird one.
Interesting.
I forget his actual name, but the guy who plays Trey in Broad City.
Try?
Track.
Too, like, I just saw him in Rough Night. I don't know. I want someone, like, a little, like, less dweeby than him. No offense. Who do I think? I don't know. Oh, you know, there was some guy on, I'm going to be, like, on one of those, like, Law and Order shows. I don't know. Fudge. I said this to someone, and I can't remember what I said. And it does
Donors,
not
the
matter.
donors don't
Stumped
care
it.
what you think anyway.
I know, right? Fair.
Hey, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Sina Grace.
Thank you for
this
having
was
me.
amazing.
Thank you,
as
Keith
always.
Tralins.
It's,
Tralins?
Yes, that's it. Just a little reminder, tickets for LA Comic-Con are on sale now at stanleeslacomiccon.com. So please go get your tickets. The prices, it's the 3-day badge pre-sale. Prices will never be lower than they are right now. So go check them out, and you get a free subscription to Entertainment Weekly for a year if you buy your ticket.
For real?
For real. So if you need, it's like, it's a huge bargain. Sina, where can everyone find you?
Just myname.com or with an @ sign in front of it. I'm lucky to have this stupid name, so
Nobody else. squatted
exactly.
on
I
it.
have most of the real estate, yeah, except for YouTube somehow. But anything else, you can just Google Sina Grace and boom, me.
Solid.
Adam,
Where can we
you and
find you,
Meltdown?
Adam?
I mean, generally you can find me here at Meltdown Comics and Collectibles because I rarely leave. But on
true.
the internet, you can find me at Uncanny Nerd Guy. There's that X-Men reference, by the way. On Instagram, Twitter, and please don't find me on Facebook.
Thank you.
Or Meltdown Comics, Insta, Twitter. I usually am responding on there as well.
And also, of course, meltcomics.com.
Yes, meltcomics.com, et cetera, et cetera. You know, you can always just come down here and bother me in person.
And I do all the time.
Yeah,
it's fun.
it's
Just
very
poke 'em.
true.
He likes
Sina
it.
does too sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Last
And
week?
you can find me at Keith Tralins on Facebook, Keith Tralins. There's a personal one and there's a professional one. Go to the professional one. You don't want to see pictures of my kids.
I might follow that one.
And then you could go to stanleyslacomiccon.com at any time. At Stanley's LA. At Stanley's LA Comic Con is also our handle and whatnot. And of course, October 27th to 29th at the LA Convention Center. I'm going to be there. He's not because he's going to be in the store.
I might be there.
Well, you'll have we would love for you to come.
I'll get people to cover for me. I'm going to Comic-Con. I'm
Awesome.
going to dress in cosplay.
But everybody else in the store is going to go too. So no, of course he's going to be there.
I
And
am
Cena.
I'll be there. I'll be
I
there.
put you on
don't-
the spot like that way.
You did. I won't have a table, but I'll be there.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah, and if you get an offer to go to a con away from LA and they're going to pay you big dollars to be there because you're such a big star, I will not be offended.
No, it's
I
not
will
that.
encourage
It's
that.
really not that. It's actually, let's just all give this to the internet. Like, cons are hard on my health, and like I said, I had a hard health year, but I think I can pull off LA Comic Con for you.
Cool. Now I feel like the most special,
You
princess in the
yeah.
world.
You are. You are.
Well, thanks everybody. We will see you next month. We have more special guests coming up. It's going to be really, really exciting, especially as we get into the heart of con season. Bye, everybody.
Bye.